Hello and welcome to Stove Talks, a podcast designed to support people going through a relationship breakdown and all the challenges this brings. I'm Matthew Taylor.
And I'm Liza Gatchell, family lawyers at Stove Family Law, and today we're looking at how long it takes to get divorced. So I guess the best place to start with this one is just the process of getting divorced, because we are in the, I was going to say new realm of the no-fault divorce, but
It'll always be new realm.
But actually it's been around for a little while now, hasn't it? So I don't know whether I can still call it new.
With the new system and a little peek behind the curtain of how it works at Stove, we've got a divorce team who do the divorces because it's a far better way for the clients to do it, to have someone who deals with it day in, day out.
Well then, what's the process?
So I was going to ask you that, but no, I can't. I'm going to have to do it now,
first.
So the process is pretty straightforward. Either one person or the two parties jointly do a joint application for divorce, and that's, you may have heard in the previous bygone eras of time, the fault-based system where you had to say that there was adultery or unreasonable behaviour or all these ludicrous things. None of that happens anymore. It's no fault system. So it is just a case of someone saying, I believe that the marriage is irretrievably broken down, I'd like a divorce. So there is an application, it's done online, it's nice and straightforward. You can apply as a sole applicant or you can both do it together. The second part of the process is that the respondent, so if it's a sole application, the respondent receives a copy and has to acknowledge service. So it confirms that it's going to go ahead, and there used to be grounds to oppose it, and there really aren't now, unless someone is saying, hang on, we're not actually married, or if there's an issue about jurisdiction, but we won't get into that. And then there is a bit of a waiting period. There's some inbuilt waiting periods in the system, so it's not that quick. But what you have to do after that is you can apply for your conditional order of divorce. Okay, and there is a waiting period of about 20 weeks on that. So once you're acknowledged, you have to wait 20 weeks, and then you can apply for your conditional order of divorce. And that is not when you're divorced, you remain married. That's the court effectively saying, okay, you're allowed a divorce at this point. You've given it some time, given it some reflection, you're not rushing into things, you're allowed a divorce. Once you get that conditional order of divorce, you've then got to wait another 6 weeks and a day, and then you can apply for your final order of divorce, which is the bit where you are no longer married. Commonly, when you're dealing with finances at the same time, we will almost always advise you to wait to get the final order until the finances are sorted for various reasons. But that's generally the process. So the quickest it can happen, if you absolutely rattle through it, is about 6 months. But given the court and timetables and stuff,
I was going to say, we're very reliant on the court in all of this when we talk about time periods. And we can submit things to courts as quickly as we possibly can, but we are very, very much then in the hands of the online system, and it's really hard to predict. I don't know what you find, Matt. We're obviously in slightly different areas of the country, but I can on one occasion submit an application and hear back same day, next day, and on another application weeks can go by before I hear back. So it's really, really, really hard to predict how quickly the court will deal with these applications.
Yeah, the one guarantee I can give is that whatever time frame I give to my client, that won't be the time frame that the court operates in. I mean, there is some workload stuff. There's lots of workload pressures. The Ministry of Justice is really very underfunded, so things don't necessarily happen quickly. So I think realistically, the quickest it can probably happen is about 8 months. I think you're looking at 8 to 12 month window, unless you are then waiting to get your finances sorted. So Lisa, are there any circumstances in which you can speed up the divorce process?
Oh, I think this is a question that we get asked quite a lot, particularly when people are really sort of keen to kind of get on with things and move on with their lives. The reality is that no, for the most people, the process is the process. We have those statutory waiting periods and we have to adhere to them. There have only been the odd case whereby one party was terminal and that death was likely to happen in the very short term, if you like, whereby the court has made orders to speed up the process in those rare occasions, but they are incredibly rare. And for most people, it will very much be a case of sort of a minimum 6 to 8 months to get that divorce through. What about then, we hear a lot in the press, particularly it seems when celebrities are divorcing, you will hear the term quickie divorce, so-and-so and so-and-so are getting a quickie divorce. Well, what does that mean? Because that kind of goes against what I've just said.
It means absolutely nothing, and there's no such thing. I think that was historically a bit of a shorthand used by the press for not having to attend court, but very, very, very few people have to attend court for the divorce, have ever had to in the past sort of 50 years. So, it's become a bit of a, I think it's one of those slight urban myths that we hear, like common law wife, things that maybe were kind of vaguely on a point at some point in the past, but really don't apply anymore. So there is no quickie divorce, no matter how much the sidebar of shame might like to talk about it from time to time when we're all snooping on celebrity divorces.
As far as top tips for making the process as quick as possible, Matt, what would you say for that?
I mean, I think to a large part, pretty similar. Stick to deadlines. If you're asked by your lawyer by the other side to provide a document, do it in 2 days, not 2 weeks. Those, the quicker you get stuff over, the quicker it comes back to you. So a lot of it's about your own individual motivation to get things done. I think being pragmatic and not fighting every battle and being really focused on what's important in your case. The more you can narrow issues at an early stage, if you decide with the benefit of legal advice that it's pointless running a certain argument, then if you drop that argument, you're going to streamline the process. But I think also the vast majority of cases settle in court, out of court. The vast majority of cases settle. Settlement is easier with goodwill on both sides. So if you can do all that you can to keep temperatures down, to not be inflammatory, to not have battles or do things that are going to inflame, your spouse, and if they reciprocate, then it makes settlement far more appealing and far more encouraging, and therefore far quicker. So, so much of it's about mindset and just getting stuff done as quickly as you can to move it along, really.
So that's it for this episode of Stowe Talks. Thanks for listening. If you would like more information on our podcasts, head over to stowtalks.co.uk and please rate, like, share and review this podcast where you can.